Welcome back to another basic character guide where we go over the pros and cons of a character, their general use, and skills you may prioritize over others. Today we're looking at Tidus or Tidus. It really is up to you. I'm gonna call him Tidus, but Tidus is one of those characters you can use one of three ways. You can use him as a general tank, somebody who you want to aggro and take a couple of hits while your other teammates are doing things, a super supportive character, or an outright damage dealer. And today we'll be looking at all three. So looking at his skills, starting off with Quick Hit. Quick Hit is one of those skills you would definitely never turn off. Lowering CT can be detrimental to a team, and since he's able to raise his own agility with the skill as well, it's going to allow him to pretty much lap the enemy, and possibly everybody else could lap whoever got hit by it. If you're trying to run him as a supportive character, Heistaga is something that he will prioritize all the time unless somebody's in range for an attack. It's super useful, it can hit multiple people. The only downside to it is the range that it can reach. Delay Buster is another skill you more or less will not turn off. The ability to inflict slow can be very detrimental as well, and more or less in PvP can definitely take somebody out of the fight. Another really good skill in Jet Shot, being able to lower defense can enable another physical user to possibly take somebody out. Another skill if you're trying to run him as a supportive character in Cheer. Raising attack and defense can be very crucial for a team, but in my personal opinion, Heistaga is still one of those more important skills. Looking at his sub job, Sleep Buster is one of those skills that's very situational, and you probably want him using other skills besides this. You're probably not going to be using this sub job. As for Paladin, he basically got everything you would want, minus the courage. But regardless, Sentinel is a really decent skill if you're not trying to run him for evasion, and it can really help him take a hit. The AI will prioritize this if he feels like he's in range of an attack and not in range to dish one out himself. It can be a little bit wonky, but it's a skill that I usually leave on just because I don't really run him for evasion. Taunting Blade is another one of those skills that are really good, especially if you don't have a tank, or if you want to synergize him with a tank, running him as a support, maybe casting Heistaga or Cheer to kind of shift the enemy more toward him in the tank and away from your squishy unit or maybe your damage dealer. Possibly may need bells just because this is going to be a heavy AP draining attack, especially if it's on a shorter map and he doesn't have enough time to cast Heistaga or Saintly Wall. It's just something to keep in mind. I'm not sure if it's like this with every unit, but Saintly Wall is something they will prioritize over bells. So depending on the map, you may want to turn this off if you're not running him as a tank or a bruiser, which is somebody who can take a few hits. If you're not running him with bells, he will use Saintly Wall, then you probably want him to go into Heistaga or maybe Heistaga then Saintly Wall. It may not be courage, but at least it's something. And finally, Blade Bash is another decent skill. Inflicting stun can be annoying, but beyond that, I wouldn't really want to rely on this skill either. Finally, we have the sub drop Samurai. Devotion is decent, you probably want him casting something else. Illusion can be good, but I feel like you probably still want him using something else over this. If you're going for an evasion build, maybe, but he's still definitely going to need synergy. Night Veil is a decent skill as well. The blind can be very crippling, but nothing special beyond that. Kung Gao can be a decent skill, but only bestowing Machine Killer limits that to 9S and 2B. So maybe this is a skill that will have more use in the future. And finally, for everybody who doesn't have the TMRs, Meditation for raising bravery pretty much. Definitely the best skill that he has is his limit break. Dealing 4 hits can help you clear a lot of those pesky missions where you need a high chain. And generally, he's just one of those characters who can just do it by himself. But you're definitely going to need him to use bells to be able to use his skill and not be drained completely afterwards. Looking at his master ability, we see a lot of defense pin and a good amount of resistances to kind of play with. If you use Tidus right, he can be very tanky. And even without courage, I still feel like it's probably going to take 1 or 2 hits depending on the element. You're really going to have to keep him out of the fray or run him as a bruiser, but the slash and missile resistance can definitely be built upon. Something else to mention, Divine Maelstrom Leviathan is definitely something that has good synergy for him. He's getting access to everything that you would see here, and on top of that, he's getting an ability. Although I don't really see him use this skill a lot, you're probably better off having this skill than not having it. And that Pierce Resist is definitely really good. As far as his support abilities, it really depends on what you want to do with him. You can run Blade Soul for the evasion, but you will be lowering his defense. You can run Suncrest for attack and critical damage, which is probably the outright best one for just pure damage. Or you can run Holy Knight's Protection, which will raise his HP and defense, and definitely is what I go for just because I run him as a bruiser. And you will always run You Gotta Score. Anything that generally raises agility is probably one of the better things to get. And the crit rate increase to me is better than the critical damage. Although they go hand in hand, I still kind of feel like crit rate is just more important. Aside from that, you would just run Paladin's Guard. I don't really think the other ones are really all that important. You can run Third Eye if you really want to get his evasion up, but chances are you're probably running Blade Soul. And if he's not going up against somebody with magic, he could possibly get killed because he does not have courage. So personally for me, I want him to be able to take those hits and not get killed. And there are just so many guaranteed hits in this game that it could possibly make Third Eye just completely useless. Tidus as a whole is just a very interesting character. very versatile, and he's probably one of the best just all-around units. A lot of support, good attacking skills, and really somebody you can throw into any team to kind of fill that in-between void of support and attacker. But something to consider is he's definitely stuck to slash damage. He has no other means of dealing anything else. But for a free character given out during the Final Fantasy X collab, he's better than some of the characters that you can even pull for. Even if he is pushed out of the PvP meta, he will always have a place in PvE. And having his own weapon in Brotherhood definitely gives him an edge over just a general character. It's not going to make him overpowered or anything, but it's definitely something you probably want to have. As far as team ups go, once again, you're going to have a lot of variety. Possibly have your tank in the first slot, have him in the second, he can run to the tank, use his Saga, your tank will move forward, then he'll probably go into Saintly Wall, and with that, your tank's gonna have somebody he can chain off of, whether it's slash or water damage. You can also do this with 3 attackers, but you're gonna have to find a way to make sure that he gets away from the team afterwards, use his taunting blade, and possibly keep him around units that are faster than him. You can run him with a healer and another damage dealer, and he's still going to prosper very well. And really the only issues that he's going to have is no ability to remove courage, and outside of his limit break, he's not going to have anything else that can hit twice. I still feel like he's going to need teammates that are just generally better than him, and you're using him as a complementary piece. In the future, if they rerun Final Fantasy X, you'll have access to get Tidus's necklace, which is really good for critical damage and magic resist, I think. Yeah, magic attack resist. So definitely something you probably want to get to +5. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please be sure to support the channel any way that you can. Liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, share your opinions. Maybe there's some things that I missed in previous videos or this one. I'm always open for the conversation. I hope you guys have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.